Hi, everybody. Sam here. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're at in the world today. I am so excited to have my friend Jade with me today for a micro interview. She is about to go on a trip of a lifetime, and she's going to tell you a little bit about that story and what that's going to mean. And then at the end of the interview, I'll give you some information on how you can actually follow along or get connected to her for future information. So, Jade, I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's funny now that the time is here because I've been planning this for quite some time. And it's funny when they talk about how teachers can influence you. And I grew up on a tobacco farm way back in the sticks. I'm the original hillbilly. And so when I was in ninth grade, I moved over to live with some of my cousins on a tobacco farm. And I had a teacher in ninth grade. Her name is Miss Ball. Can't remember. I can still see what she looks like and don't remember her first name. Beverly. I pulled it out of there. Beverly Ball. And she taught geography. The only thing I remember out of high school is seeing a picture of the Taj Mahal. And I thought,
Sure.
this is the most beautiful structure I've ever seen in my life. And it
Yeah.
never occurred to me from that 14-year-old
Yeah.
kid that I would be going to freaking Africa, Uganda, gorilla trekking. It's one of those things where I took the winding road to get where I am. And I did everything on the planet except for the things that bring me joy. And I think it's because I grew up so poor. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a National Geographic photographer. And I looked at how much they got paid. And plus, they don't actually get paid a lot of money, but they get to travel everywhere. And the competition is really stiff for that. And my little 20-something-year-old version of me, I did not have the confidence at all
Sure.
to even apply for it. So I shut myself down before I ever gave myself a chance to do that. And so 2 years ago, they found a mass in my lungs. So that getting that call from my doctor really put things in perspective. It took about 2 years and I did a lot of changes. I lost 40 pounds, but I did a lot of meditation and focused on bringing myself joy. And every day I spent spending time talking to my body and telling it how much I appreciate it. And after 2 years, I healed my body. The last scan I had, that mass is gone. And
Wow.
but during that time, I figured out how I could use points, how I could use different sites, and I could stay places for free. And in 2023, I traveled for 74 days, and that includes going to Nice, France, and it was less than $4,000. That includes all my lodging, airfare. I did pay full price for a couple of flights
That
from
was for
like
74 days,
74 days.
$4,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was a time that I didn't have a lot of money because I had taken time from my business to focus on me and my health, and because there's this saying of no health, no wealth, and at the end of the day, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, then you're just screwed. So, I did that, and I started thinking about and I actually went back through some journals, and I looked, and I have done almost everything that I have put on my a lot of people call it bucket list. I call it my living list because it's living, not
I
dying.
call it my living life list.
Yeah, living life. So I have my living list and I only have 2 big things on there. One of them was to dive with whales, and I had that scheduled in French Polynesia in 2021. And it got shut down because they were still in a state of emergency from COVID. And so this trip actually came about as a fluke almost because I'm in a travel group and these women were going to Tanzania, Kenya, Tanzania, I think one of those. And they needed one more person. I was like, oh, I'll go to that. And so I had this thought. said, "Oh, while I'm over there, maybe I'll go see the gorillas if I can fit it in," because I was gonna spend all this money on this trip. And this little niggle in the back of my head said, "Why tag on your dream trip at the end? Why not make that your trip? And then if you decide you wanna go and to the Serengeti, Kenya, watch the Great Migration, anything like that." And it was such a light bulb moment for me to think about all the times that I put all of this other stuff first and I tag on what my true desire and what brings me joy last. And I told that group, "I'm not gonna be able to go with you," and so I did select the trip, and I'd made a conscious decision to do this trip solo. It feels like a spiritual trip for me. I'm a very spiritual person, and I've done a lot of different work. I've done shaman training, and I've been all over the world doing ceremonial dances, and I really believe in generational healing, and so I've worked a lot on that with my family line. I said, "This is the year to make it happen." And Africa is considered the motherland, it's the cradle of humanity. And I've been doing a lot of journaling. And I had this really crazy journal thing a couple weeks ago. And I've shared a little bit of personal stuff with you about how hard this year has been. And there was a week where I really felt like when I just felt like I was actually in the fetal position on the couch and I was journaling about that. And I thought, I've always seen the being in the fetal position almost as a place of weakness because it means, oh, I'm just in such a bad way. And that's usually what gets us there. But my thought was if I start looking at that as a place to come from rebirth, because I'm in the fetal position. So whatever it is that put me there, if I can shift into a different way of being, then that puts me in a place of power instead of weakness. So I'm being rebirthed from the fetal position. So I don't think it's an accident that I've been coming from the fetal position into the motherland and the cradle of humanity. And there's this whole birth and, cradle and motherland and all of this stuff
Yeah.
going
Wow.
on. And I will say I'm only a couple of days away, and my brain is finally registered because I have pretty much everything in place, and my brain is finally registered. We're going to the Ugandan jungle by myself, and my brain's, wait a minute, what are we doing? Did I agree to that? Type things. So my anxiety's up a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it's been up a little bit, and just trying to make sure I've got everything in place, and I've gotta take my camera equipment. I'm like, "I don't think I'm gonna have room for clothes." I don't know. Prioritizing all of that. But, the one thing that I give people the advice, if a parting words of wisdom, that's why they call us older, wiser women. Last year, I looked around and I thought how often I say, "Someday I'm gonna do this." And I realized with this gorilla trekking trip, I'd said, "Someday I'm gonna do that. Someday I'm gonna do that." And I'm like, "Holy shit. I have 40 years of some days." Statistically, I have much fewer some days ahead of me than I've had behind me. So I would just encourage anybody to look at your some days. Don't wait on some days because no, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. You may get a call that says you've got a mass in your lung and you may not be able to do that because there was a couple of months there where it was a lot of tests and scans and had a lung biopsy. And that's the most painful thing. I literally could not roll off the couch for 3 days. I had friends that had to come and help me up to go to the bathroom and walk my dog and things like that. So those some days will creep up on you, and before you know it, they're gone. So that would be my
Yeah, very true. That was so much better than I could have even expected. Just back it was so good because, like, the story, the tie-in from the high school teacher, right? And not waiting till someday, because that's what we do. That's what we do. We wait and say, "Ah, I can't do it now. I'll do it when." And then that never happens. And so I used to tell people, "Oh, my life, I'll do that when my life calms down."
good luck with
Not
that
gonna
one.
calm down. Not gonna calm down. Just
Yeah,
is
no.
what it is.
This is
Yeah,
someday right here.
today is someday. Yeah, for sure. So I know that you're going to try and document some of the journey. And so if anybody wants to join your community on school, then they can do that. And it's a free community and you'll document what you can, but internet could be sketchy. And so a lot of the documenting will come after you get back. Ladies, if you're watching this, whether it's on social media or in the community or listening on a podcast, I will make sure I have all of Jade's links for you to be able to click through to get to her school community and her social media platforms. And if you are looking to learn how to travel for a more affordable way, but still have high quality, high class, to where it's not traveling for on the cheap, it's traveling for less, but still having high value and learning how to maximize things you're already doing. Just briefly tell about the flight you're going on to Uganda.
Yeah. So I learned how to do positioning of flights. So I am paying to go from here to Washington, D.C., and that was $278, and that's in coach. But once I get to Washington, D.C., and I go from there to Ethiopia and then into Uganda, and they actually don't have first class. That was my goal, is to have enough points to fly first class. They don't have first class, but I am in the highest level of business class, so I'll have a lay down bed because the flight is 25 hours over there, and I paid $60 for that. That's US dollars. And the flight back is coming from Rwanda, and that one's kind of a little bit of a Rwanda, Turkey, Rome, Atlanta. And from Rwanda to Atlanta, I paid $0. And that is also the business class lay down. It's as close to first class as I can get. And I've got to finish up my Atlanta, but it looks like I'll have $120 in that. So flying round trip to Africa in as first class as I can get for the international flight. So that's what, 278, 120, and 60, what, roughly 400
Yeah.
bucks.
So if you want to learn how to do that, you need to talk to Jade.
Yeah.
Thank you so. Yeah,
That's
she
what
got you, boo.
I
Well, Jade, it's always a pleasure to be with you, and I am so thankful that we got connected, and I'm so excited to be able to share you with my community.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Sam.
Have a good day.
Thanks.